The question I was facing was that the way we organize in organizations, it's in a way very vertical. It has systems, technology, structures, procedures, production, sales, output. It's a very functional way of working, and I saw that really changes, developments, interesting new impulses had great difficulty to appear because of this functional way of working. So it came to my mind that maybe there's a different way of organizing, and that's what I call then horizontal organizing. And that was the question and the fascination: how do you do that? And amazingly, in different cultures, different parts of the world, Brazil, Russia, Italy, Finland, Israel, Holland, Switzerland, Germany, there's this common experience that the traditional answers to the questions we have are not good enough anymore. And especially the questions of today are questions inside ourselves, the questions of the sense of our life, the questions of the values that we support, the questions of how to handle the earth. These are questions that are growing in people, and traditional ways of organizing don't have answers.
I was not very familiar with the philosophy behind it, not by the time. And of course he wrote a very small blue book, the methodologie van de evidentie. I don't know what it's. I don't know whether it has an English translation. It's a small book, and that really was my starting point of trying to. To get hold on this methodology of evidence. It has 8 or 10 very simple assignments in it, very simple ways to work with people, to work with questions people have, the wish they have to develop themselves. And it's very simple, but the beauty is in its simplicity. And that was the first time that I really came into contact with the philosophy of Adriaan's vision on leadership, or organizing the world. It's broader than only leadership, of course.
I think he said, okay, if we do it, if we work together, it's not a matter of just talking. We will come in process. You will come in process, he said, a little challenging. I was with a colleague and we looked at each other and said, okay, we'll think about it and so on. And then the colleague went away, and then even more for me, the question was, what next step? And then again we talked with Adriaan, and since then he works with us as a team. So he invites you and stimulates you to reflect. Not only on your own position, but also on the position where you are in the organization and the organization as a whole.
And the transition is all about ownership and leadership. And the way Adriaan is the way he thinks about leadership is that fits within the transformation we are having at this moment. I think that's the most important. That's where, and when it's complex and there are changes, and there are a lot of changes, then it's always about what is your question, what is your problem, the dialogue about your question, and then taking the next step. And that's the most important, and that's the language. He helps me in having the right questions and later on the answers. But he helps me to stay focused, doing the right things right.
And I think that inclusiveness, that everyone is participating, everyone is co-owner of the process that you're making together, that's for me the central point of horizontal leadership. And that's the kind of leadership that I think we need now, because we cannot still wait for the CEO to say what is best. The best ideas are among all of us. And so we need all those ideas. But that requires that people feel ownership for the problem that we're trying to solve together. Because only if you feel that ownership, then you can put your own inspiration in it, and your own ideas and your knowledge and your skills and whatever you have to give.
Bringing power to the people, to use this old phrase, but even in the heart of money, of banking, you can do that. And that's new, and people start to realize that that's a huge possibility for today's citizens and today's people to change things not just by ideas, but also realize it through directing the money in a certain way. But that it is a living being, the organization, and we are living beings, and therefore we have a relation. And in a relation, something is to give and something is to receive. That notion, I think, is quite important, and that is done in a very natural way by Adriaan being the one who helped us as an IMO founder, and I think that high principle behind it is what we share with IMO as Triodos Bank, as Global Alliance for Banking CEOs. That focus really on humans and their development and the step they can make. That sort of integrated approach, but the human in the center, I think that is a global language people understand.
These are questions that are growing in people, and traditional ways of organizing don't have answers to these questions. That is the driving force that we share in IMO, so we develop a new soul language for organizations. I think that is the common ground in a very practical way. So it's a soul language you can do, and not only talking language.
There is a trust in his colleagues, so that they really can do it. And this is the same also, in a way it's the same thing when he works with the client.
There is a very free and open relationship on the one hand, and a very commitment and strong will to be not to stand in the process and not withdraw you outside the process. At the other hand as well, so that's very good.
Special. Adriaan is ingewikkeld is dit hoor. Yeah, I have to the word. I have to find words. I know what I want to say, but the words are far away. The way Adriaan does things, he does it in a very personal way, by having the dialogue. He focuses us and he helps us. I see him, I think, now 4 times a year, and we tell our story, where we are now, what the difficulties are, etc. And he helps us to analyze that. And the way he does that is very special and very professional for us also.
Then I think the personal development in your career, where you stand as an individual in your personal development and trusting, trust in the next step, I would say. To trust the next step in general. and to know that any step, as soon as it's a next step and in a movement, a true step in which you really have the courage to follow the next step, even if there are insecurities or you don't know exactly where. But he inspired us, or me, in fact, in going that path.
Well, I can see situations when he did management development with our senior team that suddenly he took an instrument and started to play, or came up with movements, with singing, with text, what was an expression of how can I bring you guys more closer in different way to the essence of what it is all about. So he's not sending all the time. He can do that pretty well, by the way, as well. He's quite a thinker, so he can give us a lot of messages, but he also sort of brings different dimensions into the dialogue. And with his saxophone, he can really sort of bring a new dimension where everything is in the head, and he has filled our heads quite a lot. So there's a lot of great concept is sort of coming into a different dimension and gives people an opportunity to relate to it in a different way. I think that more holistic, integral approach, I think, is quite important. And that's what we experience with Adriaan in our sessions.
And that's because the questions that really matter are slow questions. What's the meaning of life? What am I doing here? What is leadership and how can I develop it? And this is where the language of the soul plays a part, as said, not by adding more vocabulary to it, but adding music to it. It's not only the music, it's not only the words, it's also pictures, movement, and this all together really creates a sort of super vocabulary to talk about organizations and to talk about these difficult, slow questions, and to inspire people to bring things further, and this is really what happens.
But usually he just sat down and started telling a story and asking people questions, and all of a sudden you look at the clock and you say, oh, where have those 3 hours gone? So there was no shiny films, no PowerPoint presentations, anything, just being there and asking questions and telling stories. I think that's the power of him as a teacher.
For me, it's always about the question of the other. So it's not, and to let the other shine.
He sees all the colleagues. We have 50 colleagues now, and he sees each person in a way. And if you work with them, or if you have a conversation with them, there's an encountering. And when you leave the conversation, something in yourself has been strengthened. So in a way, he is, he gets, in a way, he gets the best out of the person. And he's also very encouraging, because not also in his work, but also with the people, he sees already the next step for you.
I think what is unique in Adriaan, that he brings new dimensions to working with an organization. First of all is the position he takes, not you are the client and I'm the consultant and I know something you don't know. but he's tried to develop things together with the customer. And he is learning, we are learning. And of course, he's doing that in a very sensible way. So in the end, we really make steps forward.
Well, so in a way, he witnessed crucial stages and moments in our development as a company. Because 10, 12 years ago, our company was different. The focus of our company was still different. The transition was still in the early stage. But also the markets in organic changed enormously. And I have appreciated very much the way we worked with Adriaan during those years. Yeah. Proves and shows really commitment and connection. So we connect with him and he with us, and that is a very fine experience, very nice experience.
He is not afraid of bringing in new concepts in that co-learning, like what is not very common in business. What is your impulse? What is the essence of the organization? Can you come closer to that? I think that's quite important. But also the notion of how do you organize your processes more horizontal? And where is the customer? I don't see the customer. Let's bring in the customer as a real person and work with that in a horizontal way through the organization.
Yeah. I've seen students grow and develop, and I use it in several situations now, also in counseling, in consultancy, in organizations, not only in education. It's a broader philosophy than only applicable to education.
And that's very much what I like about IMO. It's not an organization of consultants, they are co-developers. What is a different position also to an institution like ours, but I assume also others.
Then I think very interesting is also his networking strategy. Not just us as a company, but IMO as a networking organization.
My impulse is really to support people in organizations to create new steps, valuable steps, conscious steps for the client, for the suppliers, for themselves, for the owners, and to be part of a community that really helps them to grow and develop. And that was the idea, and it was more a kind of intuitive impulse to start IMO, and to my surprise, already very quickly other colleagues liked to join this impulse, and that made it grow into an international community of people that share this impulse of developing the soul of organizations.